I didn't want you to get out.
Good evening. I'd like to go ahead and call the Pitt County Board of Commissioners meeting to order. Madam Clerk, if you could call the...
Chairman Fitzpatrick,
Here?
Vice Chairman Albright,
Here.
Commissioner Colson.
Here.
Commissioner Floyd Huggins,
Here.
Commissioner McGlawhorn,
Here.
Commissioner Nunnally,
Here.
Commissioner Ward,
Here.
Commissioner White,
Here.
Commissioner Perkins Williams.
Here.
Everyone is present.
Thank you. If everyone could please stand for the invocation and the pledge.
If you'll bow your heads, please, if inclined. Please, dear Lord, guide us tonight. Help us to understand what our job is and help us to aim for it and get there for the people of this county. Help us to see the way to help this county grow and develop to increase the life and the happiness that the people in this county can have and will have. Thank you. Amen.
Please face the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, at this time, entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved, Mr. Chair. So moved. Second.
It has been moved and properly second. Madam Clerk?
Chairman Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Albright,
Yes.
Commissioner Colson.
Yes.
Commissioner Floyd Huggins,
Yes.
Commissioner McGlawhorn,
Yes.
Commissioner Nunnally,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward,
Yeah, here. Yes, excuse me.
Commissioner White,
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Madam Manager, do we have anyone signed up for public addresses to the board?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, you have one person signed up via Zoom, Scott Johnson. If Public Information Office could bring him to the screen if he is on. And if the attorney would keep time at 3 minutes per speaker.
Let me read the statement. Pitt County welcomes all comments on matters of public concern. Each person will be allowed up to 3 minutes to speak. A speaker representing a group of individuals in attendance will be allowed 5 minutes. Please state your name and address. I'll keep your time at 3 minutes.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. My name is Scott Johnson, 8594 County Home Road in Ayden, North Carolina. Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. I am a vendor at the Leroy James Farmers Market. I've actually recently learned that there will be a new manager overseeing the county home complex, which I am 100% for because our complex is continuing to grow and is playing an even bigger role in our community's health and wellness, which is amazing. I also feel that having a primary manager over the complex helps streamline the county's chain of command and facilitate, dare I say, effective, government-wise, communication with other employees and officials. That said, I'm here today to recommend that the county commissioners consider putting the farmers market under that direct supervision of that county home complex manager as well. While I absolutely have seen the logic in having a farmers market managed by a division of agriculture, I do want to note 2 primary points. We have an advisory committee which requires 3 seats to be held by farmers, which is pretty much the agricultural side of what we would need to assist in managing the market. And number 2, the market now has a ton of craft and baking vendors. I mean, it's growing like crazy. And so we want to make sure that that's facilitated in there as well. I truly feel that the county home complex is going to be the epicenter for activities that promote health and wellness here. And I feel that putting the market under the direct supervision of the county home complex manager is a move that will definitely help. Thank you, guys. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.
Thank you. If we could now move on to item number 6, Madam Manager and Commissioner.
Yes. Mr. Chairman, if you allow us to go down front to present the awards. We have some exciting art awards to present this morning. And these originated during the time when Commissioner Ann Floyd Huggins was chair, and so she's going to join us in these awards. I good? She wants me on the top. Okay, so good afternoon, good evening. Neco is the National Association of Counties, and they held an art competition in 2021 with the theme entitled, I Love My County Because. And the goal of the competition was to start a dialogue with students to help them learn about county responsibilities and leadership. Students from all the schools were invited to complete the sentence, I love my county because, with an accompanying creative work of art depicting an aspect of what counties accomplish in their community. The following students from D.H. Conley High School and Chicot Elementary School will be recognized this evening, and I'll call each of you up by name to present you with a certificate. Before I do that, if you'll allow, the National Association of Counties sent a letter recognizing all of these winners that I'd like to share with the group and read for the record today. It says, Neco and the Americans for the Arts wish you the best in the coming year. We congratulate the winners of our first student art competition, whose work appears here on the pages of a calendar that was created. And we're pleased to present the calendar featuring the winning works of art from the inaugural I Love My County Because competition. And it's a neat 12-month calendar that has each student's work for each month of the year. It says, he says, we hope this competition, created last year as part of National County Government Month, April, bolsters civic education and enriches the public's understanding of county government. The creative designs you see in the calendar depict scenes as vast as the roles and responsibilities in county government. With contest sponsors American for the Arts, Neco was pleased to engage students across the country in learning more about the important work that counties do every day. By inviting students to create artwork about I Love My County Because, we hope to raise awareness and inspire conversations about county programs and services. The future of county government is in the hands of our children and grandchildren. As you can see in the pages of the calendar, the future looks bright. For additional information on how students can participate in this upcoming competition, which is open now, they can visit naco.org/art for updates. And that letter was signed by Matthew Chase, Executive Director of the National Association of Counties. So I'd like to just recognize who we have with us in the room today and then call up each art award recipient. I believe I see David Madigan, the art teacher from D.H. Conley High School. Is Kathy Bello present? Here she is, thank you. The art teacher at Chicot Elementary School. Russell Knight is with us, and he is the coordinator for arts education. So we thank the three of you for being here to support your students. And if you're ready, I will read each certificate and call them up. Once you get called, please stay up to the front and we'll take a group picture at the end. The first certificate is presented to Camden Atkinson for his artwork, which may be, are they scrolling? The art is scrolling on your screens, and he is a winner. Each winner receives this certificate and a $100 gift card from Neco organization for the 5 winners, and then a certificate for the honorable mention. Mr. Atkinson, if you come forward, and Commissioner Ann Huggins will present you with your certificate. And you can stay right here. The second certificate is for Sophia Elks from Chicot Elementary School. Sophia? Our third certificate goes to Hannah Morissette from Chicot Elementary School. Okay. Fourth certificate goes to Casey Summerlin. Casey? And then let's have him come on this side. Mia Wallace from Chicot Elementary School could not join us this evening. And then our final certificate is an honorable mention for Hannah Hardison. And she could not join us this evening either.
Well, good evening.
I think you're on.
Okay. Good evening. I want to thank the teachers and the parents for participating in this first art competition where it says, "Why I Love My County." And there was a couple of sentences in there that I wanted you to hear. And one was that our county is in the hands of our grandchildren, our children and our grandchildren. So, and we hope that our future look bright, as the letter says. I want to congratulate all of the students, the participants. I hope you will participate again. I hope you enjoyed it. Did you enjoy it? Yeah. And I'm so glad that we had students from the first grade all the way to the 12th grade. That was complete participation from all of the grades. So again, congratulations, and thank you so much.
And if Ms. Bello, Mr. Madigan, and Mr. Knight would come forward for our group shot, we'd appreciate it.
I also want to recognize Ms. Jane Behan, that was the coordinator for this. We started out talking with her, and she made contact with the teachers at the school to get this started. So she could not be here. And I think she has retired too. Yes, but we really appreciate her help and thank her for her help in getting this done.
Okay.
Awesome. If everyone would scoot
Get a
him.
little closer in.
You told him not to get in right, but he didn't. No, I won't hold this. Do I have it right?
All right, 3, 2, 1. We'll take one more. 3, 2, 1. All right, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Oh, really?
And both of the art teachers. I said, and both of the art teachers.
Say hi, Miss Lori. Turn around.
Do you know how someone
Bye, girl.
can fix calendars?
Bye, Wyatt.
That's
what the gentleman asked.
If you would just.
Contact
just
Neco.
Neco.
Yes.
And just say that these calendars were distributed to all of the commissioners in the state.
Okay. Yes. Sir, you can obtain a calendar by calling Neco, National Association of Counties, and I'll get you that information after the meeting.
I've never seen it. Okay, if we could now move on to item number 7, public hearings, and if we could hear from Pitt County Animal Services.
Good evening, Chairman Fitzpatrick and members of the board. My name is Chad Singleton. I'm your Animal Services Director. I'm here tonight on behalf of the Animal Services Advisory Committee. They voted at their last meeting unanimously to recommend to the Board of Commissioners to amend the Pitt County Comprehensive Animal Services Act to include a definition of domestic animal. Our current version references the word domestic animal about 20 times in the text, but does not specifically define it. The proposed amendment, if approved, would define the word domestic animal as dogs or cats and would not extend to poultry, birds, or other farm or exotic animals. That being said, Chairman Fitzpatrick, I ask that you open the public hearing.
At this time, the public hearing is open. Do we have anyone signed up?
We do not.
This time, we will close the public hearing. And we'll entertain any motion.
Motion to approve.
Chairman, I second that.
It has been moved and properly second. Madam Clerk,
I'd like to, can we have discussion?
we can?
I just wanted to raise it and maybe get a little bit of story, if we could, for the board about the reason for an express definition of domestic animal for dog or cat. When this came up, I was a little concerned because as a layperson, a domestic animal to me is an animal that you raise in the home and it's a pet. And if we were to specifically define a domestic animal as only one that's a dog or cat, what my worry would be is that we're potentially causing maybe unforeseeable problems with down the line about what this code applies to, whether or not an animal could be or ought to be qualified as a domestic animal if we haven't had a sufficient definition that's, I guess, like you mentioned, that it's mentioned a lot but not clearly defined. What I would prefer, and this is just the attorney in me, I would prefer to see it defined by a set of characteristics, so that there's a little bit more flexibility about what a domestic animal would be. What I can see tomorrow is if we say, hey, a dog or cat, only domestic animals in Pitt County, I just don't know if I agree with that personally. And so I'm not sure I could support a blanket definition of just a domestic animal being a dog or a cat. But I certainly would like to hear about reasons why for the change, and if maybe the board would consider, just putting out some classifications and actually defining what a domestic animal would be, as opposed to an express black and white letter law definition that dog or cat, that's domestic animal in Pitt County, nothing else is domestic. So that was my concern as I read through the packet, and I didn't know if anyone else had any thoughts on that, but I would not, I'm not opposed to changing it and defining it, but I would be hesitant to do a black and white, hey, domestic animal, dog or cat, and that's it.
Sure, I can certainly understand that. This has basically been an ongoing ordeal for quite some time. And since 2019, there have been 4 reported cases in which we've looked at, all of which involved poultry that were in non-enclosed environments, basically roaming free about their property. And a dog in these particular cases was off their property, violating the canine control ordinance that the county has in place, and in some instances attacked a chicken. The canine control ordinance was able, with public education and that together, were able to handle 2 of those 4 cases. The third involved a stray animal, which we couldn't determine an owner, and then the 4th, because of the ordinance, the previous director basically had no choice but to deem the dog as dangerous. That was appealed to the advisory board, and in that, the advisory board began to look at the text of trying to make the decision, because from there it could appeal to Superior Court. So they wanted to be sure that, all their ducks were in a row. And in that, there really was no clear definition as to what a domesticated animal would look like in terms of the text, which is why the previous director obviously deemed the dog as dangerous. And when it went to the appeal board, there was a lot of conversation and opposition back and forth about whether a dog should be deemed dangerous for the purposes of chasing a bird or a chicken or livestock or other things. And even though there have been very few cases, they really wanted to put a definition so that it was clear cut to us, or to me as the director, what the vision for them would be when I'm determining whether a dog is dangerous or not. None of these cases, the dogs had previous history, nor did they attack a human or another domesticated animal for dogs or cats, but specifically involved chickens.
So I guess my question is there a way to define what we deem as a community of domesticated animals without excluding every other animal except for dogs and cats?
So we looked at the definitions. We certainly looked at Webster's definition. We had a representative from the state come in, from the North Carolina Cooperative Extension, come in and speak with the board about the different types of domesticated animals that exist. And I guess in the end, after a lot of lengthy conversation, in the end, the decision was made to limit it to dogs and cats, and to try and control the situation by using public education and canine control. So there's still other options to what would happen if a dog does attack someone's chicken, and that it's property, so they could, solicit the sheriff's office or with our assistance, go for damage to property. We could do canine control violations, 3 times and continue that process as well, where it monetarily hurt their pocket. So there's still other options that were there rather than just specifically for one-time incident deeming the dog is dangerous.
So, and again, I don't mean to belabor it, but it's still kind of scratched my head, and I fail to see how, and I'm not in the room, but I fail to see how a blanket definition of a dog and cat being the only classified domestic animals under the animal control statute could be the best solution to deal with what you're discussing, which sounds like an enforcement of what is in a dangerous animal or not. And it seems to me that what I would like to see the board come up with is define what a dangerous animal is, and define what a domesticated animal is and what those conditions are. And so the fact finder would be able to make those determinations. Well, I know if we were to approve this change, we're gonna have the hamster owners, and we're gonna have the chicken owners, and we're gonna have everyone else that has a domestic animal. And under my definition of what a domestic animal is, one that lives in the home and that's your pet. We're gonna say, hey, how does this code apply to us? And I think that the code should apply to everyone's pets, regardless of whether or not they like a dog or cat or vice versa. So I wonder if it would be problematic to send it back to them and just say, hey, look, just come up with the definition so it's clear, so we can have a better enforcement mechanism going forward, so we don't have that absent having a black and white definition of domestic animal. I mean, it just.
Commissioner Colson?
Chris, you not being in the meetings, you wouldn't recognize the amount of consternation this has caused over the years. I've been on the Animal Services Board since its creation, and this has come up many, many, many times. And one of the things I pointed out to the board is that when I was in Vietnam, we had one guy. Soldiers do strange things in difficult environments. He had a cockroach collection, cockroach farm. Those were his pets. So where do you call it? Where do you draw the line? The thing is, a dog, if it sees a chicken, and to what Chad said, the owner may not have had control of the dog. It may have gotten away from them off their property, and a free roaming chicken. What is a dog going to do? It's going to attack it. I had a squirrel population that was being decimated by one of my dogs because it did what? It did what dogs do. And so the board we have discussed this to the point of exhaustion. And Chad's only catching the tail end of it. But when Michelle Moelle was there, if she could testify, she would be, I think, right on my side here. So the board has tried to come up with it, and what we came up with is that dogs and cats should be considered domestic animals. Other things are property, that if someone's dog destroys it, there are monetary damages that can be assessed to be able to pay for whatever damage is. How much is chicken worth? Everybody just board probably eats chicken at some point in their life. So, I mean, that was the rationale. Where do you draw the line? And so the board has already done that. And to what you're asking, they're asking that the ordinance change and we, the board, adopt what you said, adopt the definition of what is a domestic animal. That's what would be in the ordinance here. So, the motion has been made and seconded, and I hope if there's other discussion that we eventually vote on it and adopt it.
Could you, maybe it would be helpful if you talked for a moment about the types of enforcement, the canine control versus dangerous animal, and what sorts of incidents kick those in, and I guess the enforcement, the punishment to the dog
Sure.
and
So-
owners, or the
so
corrective
animal-
action to the dog and owner, excuse me.
Yes, sir. So our animal control officers that roam the county are responsible for enforcing the laws and the ordinances of the county, and as such, whenever we're called to a circumstance to investigate, if the animal is off because of the ordinance requires a leash law, if they're off the property, then they violate the leash law, and as such, we would write typically we try and educate them first, but the second offense, and we could write it on the first offense, we would write a violation. The first would consist of $100, the second would consist of $200, the third would consist of $300, and it would be $300 subsequent, each in additional offense that would occur. In terms of, as far as what would happen to the dog, really nothing. The responsibility is of the owner to maintain it, to have control of the dog at all times on their property.
Does an incident have to happen with the dog off property, or can the dog be terrorizing? When you say off property, what defines?
It would have to be off property.
But
So like
just
a
off
stray
property,
animal-
or does it have to attack also?
No, if the
Okay.
dog is off property,
Gotcha.
then a
Thank you.
citation can be written and controlled in that manner, that's correct. If it were to cause harm to another person's property, then, there's civil penalties that could be imposed there if the property owner would choose to go after him in court under a civil side, or possibly even damage the property in a criminal side if it were to cause damage getting into an enclosure or whatever the case may be. It may be something the sheriff's office would be involved in to cause enforcement. But either way, even with vicious dog or dangerous dog, there's really no penalty to the dog. I mean, there is in such a way. In other words, they have to be off the property in a muzzle, they have to be controlled, but for the most part, it's just a stronger enforcement to the property owner, because they'd be required to purchase insurance of $100,000, they'd be required to post dangerous dog signs on their property, they'd be required to put a muzzle on it anytime if they were just to walk it down the street. And so that's the difficulty that we face, is that do we kind of give the death penalty, so to speak, for a first offense violation, if it was off the property, for chickens that in these cases and in most cases are really roaming free on the property, and a dog where, to get after it and would cause harm in that manner. So there is control methods to what's going on. Nothing would give us the right to go take the dog and remove it from the scenario. The owner could certainly relinquish that property to the county, and we could take it, and we would, given a bunch of scenarios or several instances of going out, we would probably recommend that, or give it to someone else who maybe wasn't close to chickens. Now, if the dog is deemed dangerous, that paperwork goes with that dog. So if they have a dog and decide to remove it from the situation and give it to my sister who lives on the other side of the county, that dangerous dog would still have to be enforced by that other individual as well, even though they're removed from the situation. And they may have never bitten a human or attacked another animal or something along those lines.
No
that
further
help?
discussion, Madam Clerk?
Chairman Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Albright,
Yes.
Commissioner Colson,
Yes.
Commissioner Floyd Huggins,
Yes.
Commissioner McGawhorn,
Yes.
Commissioner Nunley,
No.
Commissioner Ward,
Yes.
Commissioner White,
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes 8-1.
Mr. Chair, just because that vote wasn't unanimous, this would need to come back for a second reading before it's effective.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Attorney. If we could now move on to items for report. Mr. Kroom.
Good evening, Chairman Fitzpatrick, Commissioners,
Good evening.
Manager Gallagher. It's good to be with y'all tonight. Tonight I bring you the January 2022 Tax Collection Report. The Pitt County fiscal year to date, July 1 2021 through January 31st, 2022 combined collection rate for real and personal property is 96.35%. The combined rate 1 year ago for real and personal property was 95.68%. Pitt County Tax Administration continues to pursue all outstanding taxes using the necessary remedies made available through the North Carolina General Statutes. It's my recommendation for the board to approve the January 2022 tax collection report as presented. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like first to commend this office for the job that they do every single day, because these reports are as close to being where we would like for them to be. I mean, they are where we would even, I wouldn't even assume they would be this good. So I want to thank you for that. Then my motion is to approve the 2022 January tax collection report.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and properly second. Madam Clerk?
Chairman Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Albright,
Yes?
Commissioner Colson.
Yes.
Commissioner Floyd Huggins.
Yes.
Commissioner McGawhorn.
Yes.
Commissioner Nunley.
Yes.
Commissioner Ward.
Yes.
Commissioner White.
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
We could now move on to Mr. Barnett.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and Board of Commissioners. You have in front of you tonight the January 31st financial report for the General Fund, the Solid Waste Fund, and the EMS Fund. We are at 7 months of the way through the fiscal year, which is 58.33%. On the General Fund, we have collected 66.7% of anticipated revenues while only spending 57.6% of our expenditures. On the Solid Waste Fund, we have collected 82.62% while only spending 56.96%. And then the EMS Fund, we have collected 76.32% while only spending 65.53% of anticipated expenses. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer. And also, I would like to just point out that this morning, when we completed our American Rescue Plan workshop, the worksheet that we had worked on as a group, I have given you a simplified version of what we come up with. I'd like to call this version 1, because I figure through here to 2024 we'll make some changes to it, but I just thought it would be easier than what we had started off with. So that being said, if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, ma'am.
move to approve this.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. Madam Clerk?
Chairman Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Albright.
Yes.
Commissioner Colson.
Yes.
Commissioner Floyd Huggins.
Yes.
Commissioner McGawhorn.
Yes.
Commissioner Nunley.
Yes.
Commissioner Ward.
Yes.
Commissioner White.
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Mr. Barnett, looks like you're up again.
Yes, what I'd like to do is just bring you guys up to speed to a little project that we're working on currently. As you know, we're going through some changes with public health and DSS, and we decided that now would be a very good opportunity to take a look at some of the models that exist across the state and how they carry out the social services and public health operations. Right now, what we're mainly doing is gathering information. We want to see what's beneficial and some of the challenges that some of these consolidated services have, and we'd like to be able to see what we don't know. We don't know if it works really well or if it's a terrible idea, but we would like to take some time to just talk to some of our neighbors across the state. Some of our neighbors from the smallest to the largest have consolidated their public health and DSS, and we just want to make sure that we're not missing something in that model. So there was a story the other week on the Daily Reflector talking about that, and I've also presented this to the DSS board. So right now it's purely fact-finding. We don't have any recommendations at this point, or there's no decisions have been made, but we just wanted to make sure you guys were fully aware that we were looking into it.
Thank you. Madam Manager.
Yes, thank you. Just 3 items on my manager's report this evening. Your next meetings are March 7th at 6 p.m. and March 21st at 6 p.m. Item B is just a note about meeting format. As you know, we're currently meeting with most people inside with a hybrid virtual option. that virtual option requires roll call voting and a lot of technological steps that happen in the back room to make live streaming and otherwise happen. I'm looking toward an April 1st date of returning to live meetings. And I just wanted to share that thought with the board, not make any decision this evening. We'll have to see how the pandemic progresses between now and April. But wanted you all to be thinking about the potential to move to fully live meetings on April 1st without remote capability. That would allow us to no longer need to do roll call votes. We're looking into getting your clicker system back up and running for votes the way we used to do them. And then we would all be together in this meeting room with the public. We could still maintain distancing and the barriers that we have, but wanted to let you know that looking towards April 1st as a target date, and we can, the board can decide later in March if that's something you want to do. And then the third thing I have is just a placeholder for any Neco legislative conference reports. Commissioner Mary Perkins Williams and Commissioner Melvin McLawhorn attended the Neco legislative conference the other week if they have anything they wanted to report out.
Yes, I'd like to say that this was my first time attending a conference, purely virtual. It was very intense on the eyes. And I miss the networking capabilities. And I don't want to go to another virtual conference. So I'm looking forward to coming back here on this meeting in person. And I have already asked Rita Reynolds, who represent technology, Neco, committees that I've served on, and she is going to provide for me the handouts that I will give to the manager and her staff to share with all of us if she deemed necessary. Not that we're gonna print everything they sent, I don't know what they're gonna send, but I asked for it because you miss getting the distribution of the slides and stuff at the presentation. The conference had almost all of the departments from the federal, the only one who didn't come was Biden. But we had Buttigieg on up to Pelosi, and it was fully attended by the departmental staff. And so we should get some good stuff. I just don't know what it is they're gonna send. So I will share it and share it with you all, and thank you so much for your.
Thank you. Commissioner McLawhorn, did you have anything you would like to add?
No, Mr. Chairman, only that considering the technical difficulties that we was experiencing with remote control, the conference was overall a very excellent, presented, well designed conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner. At this time, I entertain a motion for the items consent.
So moved.
I second it.
Second.
Been moved and properly second. Madam Clerk?
Chairman Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Albright,
Yes.
Commissioner Colson.
Yes.
Commissioner Floyd Huggins,
Yes.
Commissioner McLawhorn,
Yes.
Commissioner Nunley,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward,
Yes.
Commissioner White,
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. If we could now move on to items for decision. Mr. Barnett.
Good evening again. Back on November the 15th, you all allowed us to try govdeals.com to sell some of our county-owned property. We wanted this to be kind of our test run, and we put 421 Nash Street, which is parcel number 19264 on GovDeals. Following all the guidance that we have from general statute and GovDeals' procedures, we put the item up, we put the property on bid, out there for bid, and the bids came in on February the 7th. The highest bidder was Emmanuel Fruit at $7,100 for a piece of property that is valued at $2,340. The board at this time has the option to either accept the bid or to allow us to re-advertise it. It is our recommendation to accept the bid at $7,100.
Thank you, Mr. Burnett. At this time, entertain such a motion.
Motion to accept.
I second.
It's been moved and properly second. Madam Clerk?
Chairman Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Albright,
Yes.
Commissioner Colson,
Yes.
Commissioner Floyd Huggins,
Yes.
Commissioner McLawhorn,
Yes.
Commissioner Nunley,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward,
Yes.
Commissioner White,
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Mr. Barnett, do you want to just go ahead and do item number 3, since you're up there?
Let me grab my paper. Still got- I probably could have winged it. So this is kind of an update from our last meeting. On February the 7th, you may remember that we brought forth you a budget amendment of state funding through their state capital infrastructure fund process of $375,000. $210,000 of that was tended to come to Pitt County. The remaining balance was to go out to several nonprofits here in the community. As we were doing the paperwork with this, we received additional clarification from the State Office of Budget and Management on what they define as capital projects. And unfortunately, the nonprofits that we were going to pass this money along to, the projects that they were looking to facilitate did not meet the state's definition of capital projects. The state sees the money as going to the county, and then the county was going to sub-recipient that or sub-grant that out to the nonprofits. So we cannot do that if the nonprofits do not meet the requirements laid out by the state. So the entire allotment of $375,000, which we've already done the budget amendment for, will have to stay within the county's hands to do county projects that meet the state's definition of capital projects. We've identified 2 projects within our current CIP. One is at the public health. You may know we went to the EPIC records system. The old records are no longer needed in the same capacity, and we'd like to renovate that space for usable space within the public health. We're breaking that up into 2 phases, one this year and one next year, so we'd like to use part of the $375,000 for that. And the other project, it was the remaining balance we wanted to use at our transfer station to repair some of the asphalt. If you've been out there recently, then you know. And we'd like to use some funding, this funding for that. The nonprofits that are no longer eligible for the state funding, they do have the opportunity, just like all nonprofits do in Pitt County, they can come back to you all and ask for a swap or subbing out that money that they were looking to receive, and then it would be up to you all to decide if their projects are within line with your priorities and goals. But we do have to use the state money for the county, or we have to unfortunately send it back. And so we just need a motion to approve those 2 projects that are already in our CIP.
Second it.
It's been moved and properly second, Madam Clerk?
Chairman Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Albright,
Yes.
Commissioner Colson.
Yes.
Commissioner Floyd Huggins.
Yes.
Commissioner McGawhorn,
Yes.
Commissioner Nunley,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward,
Yes.
Commissioner White,
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins Williams.
You got it, please.
You may vote on this.
Lisa?
You may vote on this because this does not involve an appropriation to your
Okay, yeah.
nonprofit.
Motion passes unanimously.
Mr. Corley?
Good evening, Chairman, members of the board. This next item is for the architectural design contract for the Keene District Park Gymnasium. As you are probably aware, back in 21-22, on our CIP plan, we had identified funds for the design portion of this project with 1 year off and then starting construction the following year, next year. So this is for just the design piece. Since there was only $250,000 available through the CIP, we worked it out with the architect that we're referring to you tonight for that to be the cap for the design services. We did do this through an RFQ process. We had 2 firms that submitted bids. We had a team that looked at the packages that were submitted. And after those, reviewing those responses, the selection team selected Height Associates, a local firm here we feel we do very well on this project. So tonight I'm asking for approval and authorization of the county manager to execute that contract for the Keene District Park Gymnasium not to exceed $250,000.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second, Madam Clerk?
Chairman Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Albright,
Yes.
Commissioner Colson.
Yes.
Commissioner Floyd Huggins.
Yes.
Commissioner McGawhorn,
Yes.
Commissioner Nunley,
Yep.
Commissioner Ward,
Yes.
Commissioner White,
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. If we can now move on to the appointment to the BMC Board of Trustees. Madam Manager?
Yes, the nominating committee for the Vidant Medical Center Board of Trustees is recommending the appointment of Mr. Rich Ballot to seat 14, which is currently held by Mr. Bynum Satterwhite. This term would begin March 1st of this year and run for 5 years.
I would like to make a motion that we accept this nomination and appoint Mr. Ballot. He meets all the, already through.
He meets all requirements and has an application on file.
Absolutely, and the application is there.
Yes.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. Madam Clerk?
Chairman Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Albright,
Yes.
Commissioner Colson,
Yes.
Commissioner Floyd Huggins,
Yes.
Commissioner McGlaughlin,
Yes.
Commissioner Nunley,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward,
Yes.
Commissioner White,
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
At this time, we'll entertain a motion to go into closed session, and Mr. Attorney, if you could please read the basis to go into.
Are we skipping the commissioner's comment?
We want to do that before?
You gonna wait?
Come out.
You tell me, Mr. Chair.
Let's go ahead and do the commissioner comments after closed session.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
It has been suggested that this body go into closed session pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143, 318.11, subsection 1, to prevent the release of privileged or confidential information that's confidential under GS 143, 318.10, and also to consult an attorney employed by the body to preserve the attorney-client privilege. The board will discuss two matters, both captioned American Builders LLC and Billy Tyson Sr. versus the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services.
Thank you.
So moved. We go in closed session, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. Madam Clerk?
Chairman Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Albright,
Yes.
Commissioner Colson,
Yes.
Commissioner Floyd Huggins,
Yes.
Commissioner McGlaughlin,
Yes.
Commissioner Nunley,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward,
Yes.
Commissioner White,
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Welcome back. If we could now move on to commissioner comments. Commissioner
Oh.
Colson.
No comment.
Do I need to approve the?
Commissioner Perkins Williams.
I have some comments. I'd like to say that I placed at each of your places tonight prior to the meeting this picture. And I want to also read into my comments a letter that I received from one of the residents that took the pictures. And here's the letter. Please review these pictures of the trash situation in Belvoir Township on Harlem Road in Pitt County. The DOT has been contacted and the deputy from the PCSO, and each came to view the situation on February the 16th, 2022. More sessions and stringent law is needed to combat the problem, persistent trash on in our highways in Pitt County. We, the citizens, need your immediate attention to do this unsightly mess. Thank you all for your dedicated service to Pitt County. Please ensure that DOT understands the importance of cleaning the secondary roads in Pitt County. Linda Morris Smith, longtime resident of Harlem Road, February 21st, 2021. And she sent it with the documented proof of what she's looking at. So I had already prepared the county manager that I was gonna say something about trash. And I wrote mine out so I won't get off of it. And I have given a copy of it to Jana so that she'll have it. This statement is to you, the Pitt County residents, our friends, and others who visit, shop, and tour Pitt County. This is an emotional and heartfelt statement about trash. As an elected official by the residents of District 2, I am told that their vote was in favor for me to make a difference with the quality of life for all of us. Since that time, I have strived to make District 2 inclusive and work towards the county's mission, goal, and vision. Today, this is still a directive for me. First of all, I want to thank the contract holders for their vision to not only cut the grass along the right-of-way, but also purchase a bush hog and bushwhack the vines and young trees that grows very close to the street. This activity will eliminate the dangerous growth of trees and will grow to become a hazard to motorists because the trees will get taller and bending limbs will fall on the highway. That's why it's that. We have noticed the improvement and we thank you to those contractors. But trash still remains a serious problem for the communities. We have been picking up trash in front of our homes, along the roads and streets, taking the trash out of our vehicles and putting it in where it truly belongs, a receptacle. But we have also noticed residents who visit us from other areas, our community, and add to the pieces of papers along the highway that is blown out of non-covered truck beds. And sometimes just thrown trash, bags of trash from fast food, takeouts, barbecues, and even household bags of trash set out along the highway in non-habitated areas especially. We can do better when we are respectful of all of our real estate. So we encourage you again to take a drive into the areas on the north side of the Tar River and compare. You may also see perhaps what look like some businesses discarded bad tires by dumping them along the wooded areas. With this being said, some may think that this is those people and point the fingers at others. I have picked up trash, and some resident has accepted and have identified a designated space, and they pick up trash. And still, it seems to have gotten worse and become more plentiful. No one wants to build a multi-million-dollar facility in a trash dump. This is not just north of the river problem. It is a Pitt County problem. And so with this commissioner statement, I am asking our county manager to initiate a county-wide campaign or plan, whatever she wants to call it, and or a course of action that would create a total and active effort to keep Pitt County clean. And I want to say beautiful too, especially around the sand mines because they are really piling up. Thank you so very much for your patience tonight, and we are ready to go home whenever we finish. Mary Perkins Williams, Pitt County Commissioner for District 2, and trash has always been an issue.
Commissioner Nunley.
Neco.
Commissioner White.
I don't have a comment, but I will go ahead and make a motion to approve the closed session minutes from January 10th, if that would be all right, Chairman.
Absolutely.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and properly second. Madam Clerk?
Chairman Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Albright,
Yes.
Commissioner Colson,
Yes.
Commissioner Floyd Huggins.
Yes.
Commissioner McGawhorn,
Yes.
Commissioner Nunley,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward,
Yes.
Commissioner White,
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Mr. Vice Chair.
No comment.
Commissioner Floyd Huggins.
I thought we could.
Well, I do have a comment, and I don't usually have long comments, so please indulge me tonight. First of all, I want to speak to the art contest. When I was working as field representative for the for the congressional office. For Congressman, first started off with Congressman Eva Clayton and Balance, and then on to GK. So the congressman had a art contest every year, and all of the congressmen participated in this competition for students in their particular district. So I coordinated that effort. So when I saw this from Neco in the news paper, I said, "Oh, this is something that we can do here in Pitt County." And I talked to Scott about it, and so we started working on it. And it took a lot of effort of contacting the teachers, the superintendent first, and the teachers and all. And so I'm glad that we were able to get as many participants as we did. And as I said, students from the first grade on to 12th grade. So, and I hope next year that if we have some students that maybe the county would match the gift that Neco gives. Neco gave a $100 gift certificate to each participant except the honorable mention ones. So maybe next year, if we have students to participate in this art competition, that we as the county would support that by contributing to that. My other comment, as I said, I don't usually have long comments, but my other one is I want to thank the manager for recognizing and acknowledging February for Black History Month and sending out a memo to the staff. So I really want to, I really appreciate you doing that. And I think you said staff said that it had never been done before. So new manager, new things, new ideas. So, and my other comment is that we had, I don't know the gentleman's name that came before us at the last public comment time talking about handicap accessibility, and he made well, he offered some concerns, and I think the manager contacted Chris Barnes, our risk manager, and got a report as to our accessibility at all of our facilities and ADA guidelines, how we were performing through those guidelines. So, and at the end of his report, he said if the county would like staff to explore any additional accessibilities. So my question tonight to us, do we want staff to look at enhancing the handicap accessibility to county facilities? That's the question that I would like for us to consider. My other comment, and I'll come back to that and you can answer that. But let me just make my last comment. My last comment is that I want to offer condolences to the Hardy family. The Hardy family came at the last meeting at public comment and talked about the loss of their loved one. And I'm very sensitive to the situation that caused the death of their loved one. So as I said, I want to offer condolences to them, and my prayers go out to them. So that's my last comment, but you may consider whether you want the staff to look at enhancement of accessibility of facilities.
Commissioner Ward.
No comment.
Commissioner McLaughlin.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I certainly want to acknowledge the fact of Brian Barnett's efforts and professional efforts on the American Rescue Plan Act, that the workshop that was delivered this morning. I also want to thank the senior staff and our county manager, Janice Gallagher. I think that this was one of the most outstanding and professional done workshop that I've attended in terms of how we can spend monies that we have, that was appropriated to us. So I just want to acknowledge that. Sometimes I don't think we give our staff enough recognition for some of the fine work they do. And I certainly want to acknowledge that. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. I do not have any further comments.
We don't make the motion. We don't vote.
This time I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second it.
It's been moved and properly second. Madam Clerk?
Chairman Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Albright,
Yes.
Commissioner Colson.
Yes.
Commissioner Floyd Huggins.
Yes.
Commissioner McGawhorn,
Yes.
Commissioner Nunley,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward,
Yes.
Commissioner White,
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.